All right, so we got the description here. All right, so the state of will is just a fictional world where a total nobody tells everybody what to do, and it works. So, can this be done? Now, the particular subject I'm talking about, the Modified Adjudication Program, or MAP, can this be done through executive order? Kind of seems like, if you put me in there, through an executive order, I could just write up an executive order, and we could just make this shit happen, man. I could just force this upon the Department of Justice, right? Don't you think? Don't you think? As president, I could just walk right in there and just be like, hey, no, we're doing this. We're doing this. And can they say no? Do I have to get it through Congress? How does this work? Does the commander, I thought the commander-in-chief had like some pull. All right? What do you think? I grabbed somebody. I get a lot of hate from the left for this idea. Okay? So that's why it's like, I think I could probably get some of the conservative people that hate me too, So I get the left and the right hating me, but maybe I get the people on the right saying, wait a minute. How could a guy like this, calling himself Progressive Will, come up with this idea and try to promote this idea? Well, basically, we're kind of washing our hands of capital criminals in a manner where we just kind of lock them up forever and they just never get out, and they just live out their existence in this world that we create for them. If you want to read this, it says the Modified Adjudication Program, MAP. So I guess in the small, that's meant to be like the little small print that I'll try to refer to it as MAP, and I ruined that a couple times in here. But a federal mandate that violent felony cases may be subject to a new federal process in modified adjudication. MAP is a new community isolation method targeting the most harsh and violent criminals, where convicts serving sentences for egregiously violent offenses may be subject to a modified adjudication where they will never be allowed back into society. These offenders will no longer be housed with nonviolent offenders, but only with other MAP convicts in a new custom community sustained environment which inmates must traverse and survive on their own. MAP will provide no health care services. MAP will provide the inmate community with food and other items, but no individual meals or commissary. Inmates must survive their time forever on their own, under their own means. The environment provided will be an enclosed outdoor environment, much like a prehistoric colony. While the outside world remains secure to the utmost degree, current and prevailing technology may enable us to staff a security detail that actually generates revenue for this new prison system. Okay? We would open particular networks, not all, but particular networks of visual security features for observation through paid memberships. Yes, people will pay to watch these losers dwell in the particular setting, this particular set of conditions. That MAP could be America's new deterrent to violent crime. After this, hurting people while participating in a criminal action might qualify a person for modified adjudication, for MAP. So don't do it, okay? So what do you think? Be paid for observation. People could just literally tap in and watch people in this prison. Stuck in this prison. They don't get any health care. There's no normal meals or anything. Are not provided with a yard or any equipment. I guess, I don't know. You could do it. You never Lost. Remember the show Lost and how they had the little town set up? They do have little buildings and stuff. And, you're talking about like these, quasi prehistoric style community. You know what I mean? Where they have to keep their shit together to maintain it. Who cares? Who cares if it's a super alpha fucking Mad Max world? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. That's what they brought upon themselves. The same could be brought upon anybody who wants to go out and hurt people in the process of committing crimes. You know what I mean? That's why it's Well, I mean, I try to iterate that it's egregious crimes. So you try to isolate the most egregious, because yeah, and see how that works. Because really, what happens is you end up freeing up that space for the type of people who actually should be rehabilitated. I'm going to go on a progressive. This is where it's like a progressive conservative policy, is that if we're able to actually free up the funds by not providing the health care for these really bad criminals, and not providing a lot of the housing expenses, and then if we could actually turn it around and maybe get a revenue generator out of it, we could actually turn that into a way to bolster the funding for programs that do rehabilitate low-level criminals, right? Do you see what I'm saying? So you want programs that'll help the low-level criminals get back on track. You know what I mean? People that just did stuff, little mistakes. You know what I mean? All the stuff that we as humans could just understand, those are little mistakes. But when you cross that line of hurting another human, I think if you were able to sell it as like a little cable TV program, that right there would just have eyes on it constantly. The people inside would never get away with anything. You see what I'm saying? There's no real statutory way to enforce any further penalties on them either. Do you see what I'm saying? So we don't have to waste any more time or budget adjudicating any more criminal possession on these people. The criminal process just becomes done. This is modified adjudication. You've met the maximum. If you go into the modified adjudication and you just go commit more crimes, that's really probably shouldn't matter. You're still at the top. We don't have to go and try to charge people inside the modified adjudication program with any further crimes at all. You see what I'm saying? It's just like a free-for-all. You know what I mean? Like a purge scenario almost, where there's really just no laws in a way, because there's going to be nobody there to adjudicate the laws for these people. They got to do it on their own. What do you think? You know, if you're locked up, we're talking about the modified adjudication program, which is once again part of the state of will fictional world where a total nobody tells everybody what to do, and it works.